Dietitian, and welcome to part 3, the last part of this 3-part series where I'm showing you how I meal plan and meal prep for my family. In this final video, I'm going to be showing you 5 healthy dinners that I planned and prepped for this week to make some nutritious options for my family. If you haven't already checked out parts 1 and 2, please make sure to do so. In part 1, I showed you how I meal planned for the week by using the ingredients I have on hand, my meal planner, to put together the ideas for these 5 dinners that you're going to be seeing. In part 2, I meal prepped 2 components of my dishes, which were the ground turkey and the squash that are going to be incorporated as protein and vegetables with my meals. And in this last video of the series, you're going to see how all these meals turned out and also what kind of prepping I had to do the day of to make them happen. So let's get started. Everything went according to plan this week, so whatever I planned actually worked out that way, and the dinners all tasted pretty good. I did have to make some adjustments, and I have some ideas for next time about how I could do things differently, so I will share that with you as well in case you decide to recreate any of these meals so that you can make some healthy choices too. Alrighty, let's get going so I can show you 5 healthy dinners for the week. Let's go! Alrighty, so here are the meals that I have planned for the week. On Monday, the turkey with the squash and brown rice. On Tuesday, the chicken quesadilla with the Mediterranean salad kit. On Wednesday, the turkey with squash taco with mashed avocado and another salad kit. On Thursday, the chicken squash and pasta. And on Saturday, the stir-fry shrimp with noodles. So let's start with the Monday dinner, the ground turkey, squash, and brown rice. Now for the brown rice with this one, I am using this Trader Joe's version, frozen brown rice. I just pop this in the microwave and it goes in for 3 minutes. They come in these individual pouches, and I would say 1 pouch is probably enough to feed maybe 1.5 people. So it could be like a dinner and a lunch leftover. If you're trying to make a bigger meal, probably 2 pouches is your best bet. So I warmed it up in the microwave, put that in my bowl, and then I just topped it up with this ground turkey and squash mix that I had made earlier in the week. And if you want to see how I made this ground turkey and squash mix, please make sure to check out part 2 of the series, where I actually showed you how I cook both the turkey and the squash and mix them together to create this mix that will be incorporated into 2 of the dishes for the week. And in terms of my proportions, you can see I tried to keep the carbs to about 1/4 to 1/3 of the bowl, and then I'm topping off the rest with protein and vegetables. And this is going to be probably heavier on the protein and vegetables versus carbs. Alrighty, and then in terms of flavoring, I'm gonna actually top it off with this vegan tzatziki dip. This one is from Trader Joe's. Since I'm lactose intolerant, I buy the vegan one. And this makes for a great topping on top to add a little bit of creaminess to the dish so that it's not just turkey, squash, and brown rice, but it adds in a really nice flavor to it. And if you're lactose intolerant, the vegan one tastes just as great as the regular kind. So I'm going to top that off at the top to add a little bit more flavor to it, so that overall it actually tasted really, really good together. All right, and this is when I mixed it all together. You can kind of see it has a little bit of creaminess to it without having to add cream or any sort of a cheese, and it added a really nice flavor from that tzatziki. And it might look like a mess of a bowl, but trust me, it's healthy and it was delicious, definitely. And lots of veggies in there, lots of protein in there to make it a nice filling dinner. And for my son, my toddler, we pretty much did the same thing. I gave him some tzatziki on the side, the same squash turkey mix with some rice underneath there. And then I always like to add extra fruits and veggies on the side. I got some mangoes today and some cucumbers today as well. And there is that tzatziki for him too, to create a nice balanced toddler meal out of it too. Alrighty, so that was Monday. On Tuesday, we did the chicken quesadilla with the Mediterranean salad kit. Now I know when you think quesadilla, you may not think healthy, but I promise you I'll make this healthy. So for this one, I'm using these pre-cooked chicken pieces, and I buy these from Costco, and they come in a 10-pack. So for this purpose, I'm going to use 2 of these. One of these is about 24 grams of protein. So when I'm serving this for me, my husband, and my son, I'm putting together 2 packs to get me to 48 grams of protein to be split among the 3 of us. Now, of course, my son is going to get a very small portion of that. My husband will get a bigger portion of that because his protein needs are higher than mine, and I'll get something right along in between. And those proportions may vary, of course, depending on our hunger levels. But I like doing things like this to add a lot more protein to an item like quesadilla that you may not think is so healthy, but you could absolutely make it a balanced meal by adding more protein and getting some veggies on the side. So these are already pre-cooked, so all I'm doing here is just chopping this chicken up into smaller pieces so that every bite of my quesadilla is going to have some sort of a chicken in it. And this is also going to allow me to add more bulk and filling to my quesadilla without having to add too much cheese. Now, of course, cheese can be absolutely part of a healthy diet if you're using it sparingly. There are great benefits to cheese. Cheese has protein, it's got calcium, it's got vitamin D. Of course, the fat content of cheese is a little bit higher, which is what we're concerned about when we're looking at healthy eating. So it's just a matter of keeping the portion sizes appropriate. And there's my chicken, my 2 packs of chicken chopped up. And then next I'm going to use these Mission Carb Balance tortillas to put together my quesadilla. And anytime I'm using tortillas, I try to buy the Carb Balance higher fiber ones as much as I can. Not necessarily because we're diabetic, but because 1, more fiber keeps it a more filling meal. And 2, simple carbs, having just a regular old flour tortilla can spike up blood sugars very quickly, which means your blood sugars will crush down quickly as well, causing more hunger in the long run. So I always try to go for higher fiber, higher protein options. Now, to put together my quesadillas, I did a light layer of that Mexican style blend cheese from Costco. I put a layer of chicken in the middle, and then another layer of cheese on top. And the cheese is basically there to help hold it together, whereas I'm trying to make the protein, the chicken, most of my filling. And with those 3 packs that you saw, the 3 packs of chicken, I'm going to make 3 quesadillas. And this is how I like to make my quesadillas, actually make half quesadillas. 1, because I'm using less tortillas that way. 2, I feel like they stay together better when you fold it over like that. And it's easier to cook as well versus trying to flip over a big quesadilla. So this is the way I find it easy for me to make quesadillas at home, which we do pretty regularly because it's something my toddler enjoys and something my husband and I enjoy too. So I'm going to make 3 of these. I'll start with these 2 and get those cooked up first, and then I'll move on to making my 3rd one in the meantime. But either way, as you can see, this is going to become a way more filling meal because 1, we made a better choice by adding more protein with the chicken, and 2, we made a better choice by having a higher fiber tortilla to make it even more filling. I'm going to use the flat top of my stove top. I'm lucky to have this. This is a stove that came with our house, but I'm lucky to have this feature on my stove top that allows me to use it for making quesadillas and grilling items at home. If you don't have anything like this at home, feel free to use a pan. That would work as well, or I guess if you had like a flat top grill type of thing outside, you could absolutely use that too. Whatever you like to use to make quesadillas. You could even stick it in a toaster oven probably, and it would work. Quesadillas are relatively simple to make. And since I have so much filling in there, in order to get it to stick together, I do like to use my spatula to push it down as much as possible. You may have noticed I use my hands to push it down too, just to help it stick together because I'm not using a lot of cheese to hold it together. I just have a light layer on top and bottom. So I'm trying to kind of use pressure to hold the 2 sides together as well. But once one side is all cooked up, grilled up, I'm going to flip it over to the other side to make sure my cheese is melted through, everything is warmed through, and then my quesadillas will be ready to go. Look at that. And with quesadillas like this, I'll just take them off and then I'll just chop them up into pieces to make it easier for us to eat. And after these two are done cooking, I'll work on my third one as well, so that we have 3 to go amongst between me, my husband, and my son. And in terms of how we portion these out, I think my toddler probably ate maybe 2 pieces. Once you'll see I cut them up. I probably had 4 pieces myself, and my husband probably had the rest. But with our quesadillas, you'll see I'll chop it up into little triangles. I like to make our meals as interactive as possible because it helps all of us slow down while we're eating. That first meal you saw, a bowl where everything is thrown in together, it's easier if you're a quick eater to shovel that into your mouth quickly. But if you're trying to especially lose weight, be healthier, slow down at mealtime so you don't overeat later, having interactive meals where you have smaller bites, kind of like this little quesadilla bite that you're seeing here, having smaller bites that you're dipping into things, that you're putting together, that you're mixing and matching on your plate, an interactive plate will definitely help you slow down at mealtime so that you feel that satiety in the long run. All right, now I'm going to make the salad kit on the side. This is the Mediterranean Crunch salad kit, and I get this from Costco, and it comes with all the fillings. It comes with greens. As you saw, there's feta cheese in there. They have the pita bread crisps, I believe is what they are. And there's 2 packs of dressing that come with it. And the dressing for this one is a balsamic vinaigrette. So what I'm going to do with this is a large bag from Costco. And that typically will go for 2 meals for us, for both me and my husband. My toddler doesn't really eat salad. So between 2 adults, we'll split half of a large bag of salad as our side salad. So I'm only going to use 1 of the dressing packets. And with most of these salad kits, a lot of the sodium and the sugar lies in the dressing. So take a look at the ingredients list, take a look at the nutrition label to see where the sodium and the sugars fall. And if the sodium is high, which by high I mean it's more than 500 milligrams for the serving you're eating, if the sugar is high, which I would say more than 10 grams, honestly, if it's not a sweet meal, probably more than 5 grams of added sugar is unnecessary in a salad dressing. If it's more than that, then use less of the salad dressing that came with it. And if you need extra dressing on top, if it's not enough moisture for you, then you can top it off with some extra olive oil at home, maybe some lemon juice at home if that goes along with the dressing that you have. But don't feel obligated to use the whole dressing if it's higher on the sodium and the sugar. All right, so my salad is ready, my quesadillas are ready, and here's how we balance it. Now my quesadilla, it's got my protein and it's got my carbs. And we're trying to aim for 1/4 of the plate to be protein and 1/4 of the plate to be carbs. So I'm gonna limit my quesadilla to half of my plate to cover those 2 portions, which means the other half of my plate is going to be the vegetables, which is the salad kit. And that's what makes this a really simple meal. Normally, if you were to maybe order quesadilla somewhere, you're going to get quesadilla and the sides you may get might be rice and beans. But in order to create better balance, we want that side, the other half of the plate, to be some sort of a vegetable. And doing a salad kit like this is a really easy way of getting that in, especially on a weeknight when you may not have a lot of time to cook and prep vegetables on the side. This is a perfectly balanced, healthy dinner. There you go. Quesadilla and salad. And my toddler pretty much got something very similar. He got the tame quesadillas. I showed you 2 pieces that he had, and I gave him a little bit of that salad on the side. He had a peach that was chopped up and some cucumbers, which he pretty much has every night. And there's that little bit of the salad kit just for exposure purposes, and so that he's included in the same meal that we're having. So that's Tuesday night. All right, Wednesday night is going to be ground turkey and squash taco with mashed avocado and salad. A lot going on here. So I had used half of that pre-made turkey and squash mix on Monday. So here's the half of it that's left for my Wednesday dinner. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna warm that up in the microwave while I work on my tortillas. And for this one, I'm gonna use these Carb Savvy whole wheat tortillas from Trader Joe's. Same idea as the other one, but these are a little bit smaller in size. And to warm these up, I learned this trick from, I believe, HelloFresh. I'm going to moisten this towel, which means I just run it under water and I squeezed all the water out. So it kind of looks like that. And I'm gonna put my tortillas in there and stick them in the microwave for about 20 seconds to warm up. And this is how they would do it in the HelloFresh kit instructions that I used to get, and I noticed it works really well, so I just started using that trick at home. So if you do heat up tortillas at home, this is a very simple way of doing it if you don't want to have to, you know, turn on your toaster oven or your regular oven. So what you're going to do is you're going to wrap those up to make sure everything is covered, and I actually like to flip it over so that opening is at the bottom and it's nicely packed in there. And I'm going to stick that in the microwave for about 20 seconds to warm through. All right, next I got one avocado here that I'm going to do as my mashed avocado. Now, to test the softness, I'm just kind of pressing with my finger, and as long as it's, you know, pressing down a little bit, that's how I know, okay, I think this is a nice, firm, but not overly unripe avocado that is going to be good for my mashed avocado. Now, avocado is a great source of healthy fats, and there it is, this one was a good one. It's a great source of healthy fats, so it helps add more satiety to a meal. It helps make it a more filling meal. And what I'm going to do is just mash these guys. So I'm going to take them out, put them into my bowl, and mash with my fork. Now, if you have the time to make this into a guacamole and cut up some tomatoes, some red onions to go in there, even better. But I didn't have any of those ingredients. I didn't even have limes on hand. I had some lemons, so I'm just going to use lemon as my acid base. And I promise you it works. Not as well as lime. Lime does have a more distinct flavor, but it still works. It does add that acidity to the avocado to help cut that fatty taste, so that this could be a nice dip for my meal. Alrighty, so now I'm going to season it. I've got some garlic powder that just went in there, and then I'm going to do salt and pepper. Very simple on the seasonings. Of course, if you want to do like fresh garlic or anything like that, you're more than welcome to cater to whatever preferences you like, but this is a simple way of doing it. Salt, pepper, garlic powder, and some sort of an acid. Preferably lime juice, fresh lime juice, but if you don't have it, lemon juice works too. So I'm going to mash that together until right around that consistency. There we go. So that is coming along nicely, and that's going to be part of my taco, and we'll see how that's going to come together. And I'm just tasting it to make sure the seasoning is good, and I'm just going to end up adding a little bit more acidity in there, and that should be good to go. And with this, of course, if you can cut back on the salt a little bit and rely on the other flavors, even better, to help reduce your salt intake. But this is a simpler, healthier version that you can easily make at home to incorporate avocado as a healthy fat. All right, next I'm going to do this Queso Crunch Salad Kit. And this one, in terms of the ingredients, the nutrition facts compared to the Mediterranean salad kit, slightly different. In terms of the greens base, this is more iceberg lettuce base versus the other one was darker leafy greens. We have toppings that are a little bit on the more higher sodium, higher fat side, but overall, I love the flavor of this. And that's what you gotta go for with dressings. You gotta go for salads. That was the dressing that I was showing you, sorry about that. You gotta go for salads that you enjoy eating. And this one's got some pumpkin seeds, and I think those are tortilla crisps that are gonna go. And as you saw, the dressing for this one is a little bit creamier, and it is spicy. I will tell you that it is spicy. So with creamier dressings, if you're trying to lose weight, try to cut back on how much you're adding in. Maybe start with about half and see if that's enough, and if that's not enough, add a little bit more. don't just automatically go for the full packet of dressing with creamy dressings if you're trying to lose weight. Now, that's not within our health goals right now, and my husband does like his salads with a lot of dressing on it, so I do put the whole packet in there just to make sure everything is coated through. But you'll see there are times where I may use less dressing, especially if the other components of the meal are on the heavier side. Then you can create better balance by cutting back on the dressing a little bit. And that's the cheese that it came with. I'm just adding a little bit extra cheese, and honestly you probably could skip on that as well with the other components that are going in here, but I think it adds nice flavor. It's a little bit of extra protein from the cheese, so why not? Let's make this salad delicious. So I'm actually interested in it. I want to eat it. I enjoy it, and I walk away from the meal feeling satisfied, not just in terms of fullness, but that my heart is satisfied too. Like, I don't feel like I deprived myself by eating this meal. And there is the salad kit, and that's going to go as part of our taco on top. Now, if you remember with the ground turkey that I had cooked up, it was a little bit on the watery side because of that zucchini. The zucchini did release a lot of water. So now when I'm going to add this ground turkey and squash mix onto my plate, I'm trying to get the water out as much as possible so it's more of a dry topping and I don't have a soggy taco. And honestly, if I'd done this maybe a little bit better, I would have actually strained it instead of using the slotted spoon that I'm using to try to strain it out and to take some of that moisture away. But honestly, even taking the easy, lazy way out here, it still was not that soggy, so it wasn't a big deal. But if you are sensitive to that, you don't want a soggy protein and vegetable mix, you can absolutely either strain that out or just, cook it down more so that you have more of that moisture gone and you have a drier topping. All right, there is my tortilla that's been warmed up. So you can see I did the about a third, actually more than a quarter of my plate to be that squash and turkey mix because it's got both protein and vegetables, and you want protein to be at least a quarter. And then I'm doing a quarter on my plate to be that tortilla, a little bit more than a quarter, but that's okay, it's higher fiber. And then I'm adding a nice big dollop of the avocado, and that's kind of a vegetable / my healthy fat for the dish. And then I'm going to aim for at least a third of that, the rest of that plate, to be the salad mix. So that between the salad mix and the turkey and squash mix, I get to about, and the avocado as well, between those three components, I'm getting to about at least half of my plate to be vegetables. I'm making sure I have enough protein in there by making sure I have at least a quarter of my plate to be protein. And I'm just using the tortilla as my carb to make it an overall filling meal. And there we go, there is my plate with all of those components. And then next I'll show you how it looked like as a taco all together. And there we go. Okay, so let's see how that turned out once we made it a taco. My husband went for the whole thing. He did a layer of the mashed avocado at the bottom, then some of that turkey and ground turkey and squash mix, and then he topped it off with the salad as you're seeing it now, and then wrapped it all together, and he ate it together like a taco like that, and it worked pretty well for him. For me, it was too big of a bite to handle, so I just made small bites of taco instead, like mini tacos. Same idea, putting all the ingredients together and made it a nice interactive meal. And for my son, he pretty much got the same things, the turkey with the squash, the same tortilla, some cucumbers as usual on the side, and some grapes for the fruit component, and the same mashed avocado that we had. So that was his meal. All right, Thursday dinner. This was pasta with chicken and squash. Now I had reserved that squash from when I cooked it. I had reserved about a third of what I cooked, so I already have that pre-cooked and ready to go. I'm going to get started by boiling some water for my pasta, and then next I'll get to working on my on the rest of my components. I'm going to get started by adding some oil onto my pan, and I use this extra virgin olive oil from Trader Joe's. Use extra virgin olive oil in pretty much all of my cooking. So we'll put that there, and we'll first start out by putting that squash, that pre-cooked squash, in there to start getting it warmed up while we work on the other components. And since this was pre-cooked, I'm gonna try to be mindful not to overcook it too much, and I was mindful of that when I pre-cooked it as well. I didn't want it to be super mushy. I just wanted it cooked through so they were softened up going into the pasta sauce that it's going to come together with. But I'll just get that spread out so that gets going, that gets warmed up. And then I'm going to put in my pasta sauce. This is the Muir Glen Organic Roasted Garlic Pasta Sauce. And with pasta sauce, the main things I'm looking at are the sodium intake and the sugar intake. Especially in pasta, there can be a lot of added sugar, which can add that sweetness flavor to a lot of jarred pasta sauces. So that's one thing I like to be really mindful of. I try to pick products that do not have that added sugar. I'm going to use about half of this jar of pasta sauce for the amount of zucchini I have and the amount of chicken that's going to go in there. And I'll use the rest of that pasta sauce for a different dish, but just to give you an idea of how much I'm using of each ingredient in case you decide to recreate this at home. So I'm going to mix that all together and let that all warm up and kind of cook together over time. And then the next component I'm going to be working on is going to be the chicken that's going to go in there. So we'll put the lid on there and let that cook up. All right, let's work on the chicken. I'm going to use 2 packs of chicken for this as well. So when we're doing just one meal, I'm just doing chicken for just one meal for the 3 of us. It's usually 2 packs of chicken just to make sure it's enough protein for all 3 of us. And just like I did with the quesadilla, I'm going to chop this up into smaller pieces. You could probably use this in the big chunk that it comes with. Honestly, if you didn't want to take the time to chop it into smaller pieces, I just like how it blends together with the sauce better, so you get a little piece of chicken in every bite versus big chunks of chicken. I just prefer that texture-wise, so I don't mind taking the time to cut these up in advance into little pieces, especially since I'm just doing this while my pasta and my zucchini are warming up on the side anyways. It's just a few minutes of extra effort to make it more pleasing for us. And really pay attention to that too. What matters to you? Is it the textures? Is it the flavors? Is it the temperature? And try to recreate that in healthy dishes so that you cater to your senses and what you enjoy and what's important to you. That's very important because sometimes our favorite dishes that may not be so healthy dishes, it's not necessarily the unhealthiness or the extra fat, calories, or sodium that we enjoy in there. Sometimes it's the texture. Sometimes it's the crunch it gives us. Sometimes it's the temperature or the consistency. And there are ways to recreate that in healthier ways. So take the foods that you enjoy and find healthier alternatives for them that kind of meet those same needs that the unhealthy version would meet for you as well, if that makes sense. Alrighty, I'm coming up to the end of chopping up my chicken here, and that's gonna go into the pot. But before I do that, my water was boiling, so I'm gonna put my pasta in. And for this, I'm using brown rice pasta from Trader Joe's. If you are using pasta at home, if you're cooking pasta at home, one of the best, healthiest alternatives you can make is just finding an option that's higher in fiber, whether you decide to go the whole wheat route or the brown rice route, whatever you do, but the flavor is really not too different, just slightly difference in texture, but not big enough of a difference, especially when you sauce it up. So get a higher fiber pasta whenever you can. All right, looks like my pasta sauce with my veggies is all warmed through, so I'm just gonna add all that chopped chicken in there as my protein component. And with the amount that I'm doing of the chicken versus the vegetables, that's where I'm finding the balance. You'll see this is a very chunky sauce, lots of fillings in there. And that's what you wanna go for with pasta, especially if you're not having anything else on the side. If pasta is your only dish that you're having for whether it's lunch or dinner, make sure there's lots of protein in there, lots of veggies in there, and you're not just eating some pasta noodles with sauce, because pasta noodles with sauce is just carbs. And while carbs give us energy, they don't provide a lot of satiety. You need the protein to provide satiety. You need the vegetables to take up bulk in your stomach, to take up space in your stomach without all the extra added calories, so that it fills you up physically as well. Alrighty, my pasta cooked, my brown rice pasta cooked, so I'm just going to add that in. And I had cooked about half of that packet of the brown rice pasta that you saw. So it's half a packet of the pasta with half of the jar of pasta sauce, a third of the squash mix. So between the squashes, I believe there were about 7 or 8 squashes in the whole bag. So a third of that would be about 2 to 3 large squashes went in there. And then 2 packs of the chicken. So those are the proportions that you're going for. And honestly, you could probably even add more filling to this, but that's just what I decided to go with for that day. And it was filling enough. I would say it was a nicely balanced meal. If you wanted to make this with the whole bag of pasta and the whole jar of sauce, just gotta double up on the protein and the vegetables and you'll be right there. Okay. Now I'm just going to add some extra salt on top. I didn't really add any other salt throughout the cooking process because the squash was already seasoned, the chicken's already seasoned, and the pasta sauce already had salt added in. So this extra salt on top is just for that pasta because I had not seasoned my pasta yet. So this is just to add some salt to my pasta so that it still tastes good all together. Just a little splash of salt at the end. And there we go, my pasta dish is looking ready. And we'll scoop that into a bowl, and since I don't have anything else on the side with this, this is just going to be an entire bowl of pasta. And that's what you got to be mindful of. Anytime you have a dish that's just really all going to pile into a bowl, make sure there is balance within that dish, that the dish is rich in vegetables, the dish has enough protein in there, and is not too heavy on the carbs. This is a little heavier on the side of the carbs, but overall still a pretty balanced meal. And I'm going to add a little bit of cheese on top just for some extra flavoring, because I do love some melted cheese in my pasta. This is that Mexican style blend cheese that I had used for the quesadilla earlier. Just a little sprinkle on top to add more flavor and a little bit of extra fat in there. And my son had the same thing that we did, pretty much the same pasta, the good old cucumbers that we always have, some watermelon for the fruit, and then I gave him that shredded cheese, which he loves eating by the handful. Alrighty, and that was Thursday night. Now last one, Saturday dinner. This is the noodles with stir-fried vegetables and shrimp. Alright, I'm going to get started by putting my water to boil for my noodles while I work on the stir-fry vegetables and shrimp. And for the stir-fry, again, I'm using my extra virgin olive oil to add to the bottom, and we'll get my olive oil on a hot pan and get the oil to warm up first before I add in the ingredients. And for this dish, I'm going to use this vegetable and shrimp stir-fry kit from Costco. There are 2 frozen bags in this, 2 separate bags of the stir-fry kit and 2 sauce packets in there. And the instructions are in the bag. There's a pouch in there that you got to put in hot water to warm up. And then with everything else, it just asks you to warm up some oil and then putting the vegetables and the shrimp in there and cooking that for about 7 to 8 minutes until it's cooked through, and then adding in the desired amount of sauce later and stirring to coat. And since this was a stir-fry dish, I figure, and there is the pack, this is one of the packs, and you can see there's lots of vegetables in there, nicely sized shrimp pieces as well to make sure we get some protein. And this helps, and there's the sauce packet that came with it. And the shrimp helps meet my seafood for the week that I always try to go for. I try to incorporate some sort of seafood every week as much as we can. And this was a nice change of pace than what we would typically do. So something different. All right, I'm gonna add in those veggies and the shrimp in there and let that come to temperature, let that cook up since it is frozen. And there's my hot water on the side that I'm going to stick that sauce packet in so that it warms through before I add in the sauce to the mix. a little bit later down the line. Now with this, I did check the nutrition label, and the nutrition label for this whole pack showed that it was pretty high in salt and pretty high in sugar. And I'm pretty confident that all of that is coming from the sauce, because otherwise it's just vegetables and shrimp, which is not going to be a lot of sugar. It's not going to be a lot of salt. So I went back and forth in my head a lot about how much sauce to use, and I'll show you a little bit more about that later. But in the meantime, let me show you quickly these squiggly knife cut noodles from Trader Joe's, and these are a lot higher in protein than you would expect. I'm going to use 2 packets of this. There are 4 packets in that bag that I showed you, and it comes with its own soy and sesame sauce packet. So if you ever wanted to use these on their own, not necessarily with this mix, you absolutely could do that, just by using that soy and sesame sauce packet, and it's really delicious even just with its own sauce. All right, my water is boiling, so in go my noodles, my 2-pack of noodles that are going to cook up pretty quickly, and then those will get added in with everything else. There we go, and in the noodles go. And anytime you're doing noodles nowadays, there are so many options out there that are higher in protein or higher in fiber. So really look at the grocery aisle, and honestly, they're not too different in terms of taste. So if you can find products like this one that are higher in protein, higher in fiber, and still taste great, then why not? You're automatically making a healthier choice by incorporating more fiber and protein into your life. And as you can see, these are starting to come to temperature pretty quickly. So as soon as those are ready, I will add those into my dish, and at the same time my vegetables and my shrimp are starting to look like they've cooked through pretty well. I'm just going to give that another mix around, and I love the variety of vegetables in this one. They're vegetables that we may not have otherwise, and I always try to look for that. I try to look for variety of vegetables, hitting all the different colors of the rainbow of vegetables. All right, now the sauce packet. I ended up going with the entire sauce packet, which in hindsight I probably shouldn't have done. I should have started with just half to see how it tasted and gone from there. Personally, I thought adding in this entire sauce packet, and then you'll see later on I even added another pack of the soy and sesame sauce packets. And I thought, since I have 2 packs of noodles and all of this, that maybe it wouldn't be too bad. To me, it was too salty. Now my husband, who loves salty food, he's huge on salty food, he thought it tasted great. He thought it was the perfect amount of salt. But honestly, when I do this again, and I say when because I know I will do this again, it was actually really delicious altogether. Definitely start with just the half of the packet that it comes with. See how it tastes. Maybe add in other seasonings, other flavorings, broths and things to add more flavor, add more moisture instead of more sauce, because the whole sauce packet by itself is a lot of salt, a lot of sugar. So just be mindful of that. So it's not the perfect kit, but it can absolutely be customized to be a healthy choice just by cutting back on the sauce a little bit, because the core of it with the vegetables and the protein is actually great, and the sauce actually has really good flavor too. I just added too much. Yep, there's that soy and sesame sauce packet that I'm adding in as well, and this I definitely would not be doing. Maybe that's what caused it to taste so salty as well, so maybe that's the one to blame. I would definitely skip on that part too. Just save those soy and sesame sauce packets for any other noodles that you might make down the line, because they do have good flavor to them. It was just too much altogether. And there we go. There is my stir fry shrimp vegetable noodle dish that I was able to whip up together actually pretty quickly. So this is a really nice, simple, easy meal to make, just less sauce. All right, and there is my bowl, and you can see there's a lot of vegetables on there. And again, when you put it in a bowl, it's hard to measure what's a quarter of the plate versus a half of the plate. But what I'm looking for is seeing lots and lots of vegetables, making sure I got a decent amount of shrimp in there for protein, and then making sure the carbs aren't overwhelming of the whole dish, just maybe a quarter to a third of the whole bowl. So there is my Saturday dinner. There we go. And of course, with my son, we did the same thing. He got the noodles, he got the shrimp and the veggies. And then on the side, I decided to go a little bit out of normal, but he has some frozen blueberries, which he loves to eat, and some cut up cheese for some extra protein on the side. And there is a healthy meal for all of us.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video and this series in general helped give you ideas about how you can put together healthy dinners, how you can plan that in advance, how you can prep things in advance to make it easier for you the day of to put together some healthy, nutritious meals for you and your family. If you like the videos that I produce, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really does help my channel grow. And if you have any comments or suggestions and ideas for future videos, please make sure to leave a comment down below, and I promise you I will read it. And thank you so much for following Healthy Made Simple. I hope this channel helps you make healthy eating simple. I know there's a lot of content out there about ways of doing healthy eating that I find more complicated, so my goal is to give you ideas, tips, ways to do convenient cooking, easy cooking, incorporating packaged products to make it simpler to put together healthy meals and to follow a healthy lifestyle. Thank you so much for watching Healthy Made Simple, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.